Hello again, lovely students. I'm going to keep today's video fairly short because I know Friday's was longer. So if you didn't have time to watch, especially the Worldview section on that, or if you need to watch it again, feel free to do so. You can always go back and watch these videos if you just click on the General Announcements unit, and you can search through and find the day that the video was posted. So today what we're going to do is we're going to finish reading The Old Man and the Sea. And what I'd like for you all to do is to answer some questions on a discussion post. So I've got two discussion posts this week, one that's short and one that's longer. You don't have any paragraph writing. We're just going to continue to brainstorm a few things. So the first discussion post, let me back up, is one that's actually due tomorrow, and you only have to answer the question. Responses to your classmates, that's optional, so I'm only going to grade you on your answer. This discussion post for today and tomorrow is I want you to, based on the video from Friday with the worldview discussion and the structures of types of stories as whole, broken, or bent, I want you to tell me and the class where you think that your story that you read for your individual novel falls. Do you think it's whole, broken, bent? Are there some nuances with that? So that's discussed in the video where you might have a whole story with a broken emphasis, or, maybe the story you're like, well, it would be mostly broken, but, there's this smaller story within the story that, this one character, their little sub-story is whole. So you can mention those nuances. It doesn't have to be a nice and neat, 1, 2, 3 there, but for the most part, does your story follow the whole structure, the broken structure, or the bent structure? Now, the one for Old Man in the Sea, that's due Thursday, and that's your typical, you give an answer and then respond to two classmates. So you'll want to start on that earlier than just Thursday, so you're not scrambling at the last minute to say something. This week, we're going to talk about thesis statements with supports for our worldview paper and start brainstorming those. Your thesis statement with the supports is going to be due Monday on the 27th. Our final draft will be due May 6th, and I'm going to go over a few more things in a second, actually a few seconds, on that. Your vocabulary quiz has been moved to Monday as well, so a week from today, to accommodate for on Fridays. As Mr. Bundy sent out, we're having like an augmented learning day where you can either catch up, get ahead, have more time for teacher questions, or just some rest, because we know that you guys need that. Now, as we finish Old Man in the Sea, we have The Great Gatsby, and a few of you have asked about this, and what I'm going to do is provide you with two options. So the book is only 128 pages long, but that still may be long with all the things that are going on and things that you're juggling. So I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to tomorrow post two different reading schedules, and you're going to get to pick which one you want to do. You can do the full novel reading schedule, which will be about 15 pages a day for the days that we have scheduled. Or I'm going to make an abridged schedule where you only read parts of the book, and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps through our discussion posts and things like that. That'll be available tomorrow. So if you're like, you know what, this paper is going to be challenging for me, I've got a lot of other things going on in my other classes, don't feel bad about taking that abridged schedule. If you're like, you know what, I've started reading the book, or I was really excited about it and I really want to read the whole thing. I'm a fast reader, or I want the challenge because I'm planning on taking an honors class next year. You can go ahead and do that. Don't feel the pressure to do that, but that is an option for you. So I'm providing two options there, and I'm letting you guys pick what works for you. All right. So I want to look at the worldview paper a little bit. I know some of you have asked, and I really wanted you guys to get to read your novels first. So I'm going to give you this handout. It's going to be posted under the worldview and the composition section. It's going to be posted there on LMS to where you can have this handout and look at it. And over the week, I'm going to provide you with some other tips and things to help you as you brainstorm and plan this essay. So the general prompt is, what kind of worldview does the novel present to the reader? Okay, so some of you guys have already mentioned certain types of worldviews that you suspect, and we'll talk about some options there. You're really just describing the worldview in your paper. So you're going to identify or trace it and analyze the worldview. You can use what we talk about with whole, broken, and bent stories to help you with that. That's one of the reasons we're going over that right now. That's just a tool. Only after this can you evaluate the worldview of the book. So remember, we can't evaluate something until we're sure that we understand it. So, with evaluating the worldview of the book, if you wanted to compare if you thought it was a sound or biblical world view, or if it, lined with scripture, you would not want to do that until like your last body paragraph, okay? Because you want to give a good description of what the book is actually saying. Specifically, and I gave you kind of this list on Friday, but consider what the novel says about God, truth, human nature, all of those categories. Obviously, for a really good paper, you're not going to cover all of those, okay? That would make for a really scattered, shallow, disjointed paper. So I would say pick no more than 3. And some of you may be able to pick 1, depending on your novel, and go really, really deep with it, okay? So I'm looking for depth, not checking off everything on the list. Now, what are the requirements for the paper? So of course, you've got your title, and I have some things about formatting. You'll have your thesis statement, introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. I know many of you are probably wondering about the length, so I'll go ahead and point out. I'm going to do what was done, I believe it was last year, 750 word minimum. That amounts, depending on your words, I think, to about 2.5 to 3 pages. Some of you may end up writing a 6-page paper because you really get into it, but because of what we're dealing with right now, Mr. Bundy and I were talking, and we really want it to be, something that's manageable along with your other classes, okay? Now, you can look through these requirements and ask me any questions you have. I think the big thing is like, do you have to have TS and supports? So yes, thesis and supports. Your thesis, of course, needs to be clear, specific, defensible. So you can't just be an opinion, but it can't just be a fact about the book. Action verb, and remember to provide that overview. Okay, so really similar to what we've done before with that. Introduction, you're going to follow what you did for research papers. So you're going to have a hook, a little bit of background information. That's probably going to be where you put a little summary about the book, just the broad strokes. You can't tell me everything. And then your thesis statement comes at the end of that paragraph. Body paragraphs, at least 3. A couple of you, if you really get into this, you may have more, but 3 is kind of the magic number because you're going to have at least 3 supports. And then your conclusion, no new information, your little summary, restated thesis, and a thought-provoking clincher or closing to that, okay? Now, 750 words, and works cited page, that's 3 sources minimum. You already have one of your sources, that's your novel. The other source is the Bible, and then one other credible source that you get to pick. It doesn't need to be Wikipedia, that's a no-no. Avoid encyclopedias or .com or an authorless source unless you can really make a good argument for it and have it approved by me. You do need to use each source at least once in your paper. That could be a quote, summary, paraphrase with an in-text citation. We will walk through all of these things. I'm going to focus more on content and the structure of your argument, and that you use textual support in this paper, okay? So even though you've got a list here, I am going to look at those things, but the weight of your paper is going to be that content and that structure, and do you use textual evidence, okay? That's the big thing I'm going to be looking for, is just that thinking deeply. So some of the nitpicky things that I have on here, I'll be grading those fairly gently, okay? So that's all I'm going to give you today, because I know that's quite a bit for you to chew on, and you may have questions, so feel free to ask them. And again, you're spending your time on reading and going ahead and stewing around thinking about those discussion posts and whether or not you want to do a full reading of The Great Gatsby or an abridged version. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm still praying for you guys. Shoot me any prayer requests that you guys have, and I will talk to you later. Bye.